Hi. What's up, fam? Brandon Walker, more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. Gonna have a good time today. Woo! All right, have a good time. Cold outside. I don't know if it's as cold where you are as it is where I am, but it is freaking cold. Actually, I think it is. I've heard from some complaints from Mississippi. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. If I wanted to be cold, I'd move up north. I didn't move up north. I moved to Atlanta. I want to be warm. I want to be seasonably warm in December and January. That's what I want to be. Going to have a guest this morning. Going to have Neil Price, the voice of the Bulldogs. I look very shiny today. I look very bright. You agree? Why do I look so shiny?
Is Atlanta north of Starkville?
Slightly.
Ooh.
Very, very slight. It's pretty close to even, but it's slightly north. Like, you can draw a straight line from where the Atlanta airport is to Point City, which is where I'm from. So it's almost close to it. Are you going to come out here and darken the... What are you doing, Landshark?
Just fixing stuff.
Okay. Hail State from Mendenhall. Did you see KT and Fitz tweets about dirty tackles in the Egg Bowl? Yes, I did. That will be a topic for discussion one day here. Depending on how long we go with Neil Price today, that'll be a topic of discussion on here today, possibly. Chris Tillotson says I don't look shiny. There we go. Looking a little better. Come here, Landshark. Come here. Get on camera real quick. Oh, brush your hair. Come here. Say hi. Say hi.
Hey, everybody.
All right, go. You look shiny, too. Hail State from Kosciuszko. 48 degrees Fahrenheit here, says Ken and Renee Williams. I don't know where he is. Good morning. It's cold in Natchez. Hello, Bubba Scott. Brian Sisk is at the doctor's office in Tupelo. Hail State from Seymour, Indiana. Thank you, Gina Stedman Clarity. Good morning from Dallas, Carolyn Crane Lindley. Hello, Carolyn. Baton Rouge is here. Jennifer Tipton. Going to see the women's basketball team whip LSU on Sunday. Yeah, that women's basketball team's pretty good. They are pretty good. Raylan now says, no land sharks on the show. Go away. I agree. That's my fault. I look a little dark out here. I look dark. Turp, do I look dark to you?
No, you look fine.
Okay. God bless from the Great Lakes, Jeremiah Body. Tony Dempsey checking in from Ackerman. Down there in Choctaw County, I think. Hail State from X Prairie, Mississippi. I don't know what that is at all. Bradley Vaughn checking in from Houston, Mississippi. Is that the Bradley Vaughn I grew up with in Point City, or is that a different Bradley Vaughn? Probably a different one. Maybe the same, though. Houston's not very far. Point City, hello. Hello. How are you doing, Point City? Tishomingo County, Stark Vegas. Chad Wade says, compliment about Landshark. You have fans. They're all of the male variety. 29 degrees in Panama City this morning. Hail State. Flowwood, Mississippi here, Darren Butler. Hello. Tarp, are you going to do your thing, or are you going to talk? How are you going to talk today? You're not doing your accent? I don't
have an accent.
I thought it was going to be British accent Thursday.
One of these days.
Okay. So we'll wait. Oh, hello, Bradley Vaughn. So we'll wait a couple of minutes, and then we'll get started. I'm calling Neil Price, the voice of the Bulldog, at 55. So we'll start the show right around then, and we'll spend the first 10 to 15 minutes talking to Neil Price about his experiences this year at Mississippi State, how he liked it, what he didn't like, who he liked, stuff like that. We'll have a good talk with Neil Price. He was outstanding when we had him before the season. I anticipate him being outstanding again. Also need to reach out to Richard Williams to have him on the show again. He was outstanding a couple of weeks ago, and now that state basketball is trending upwards, I'd like to have him again. Hail State passing through Point City. Turn right on Main Street and go to the Brandon Walker Smoking Lounge at the Smokestack. Hail State from Littleton, Colorado. Randall Collins. Crown Point, Indiana. Jason Jones. Rita Leisure, Ocean Springs. Robert Cox from the Golden Triangle area in Mississippi. Bram Bramucci in Cleveland, Mississippi, over in the Delta. Brian Faulkner says it's crazy cold here in Amory. All right. Good stuff. I'm hungry. It's lunchtime.
That was quick today.
Yeah, it
Usually
was
it's after
quick.
the show.
Yeah, usually it's at. I worked out last night. Did I tell you? Oh, we need to have a. All right, we're all family here, right? We're all family. So Facebook Live, before we start the show, I got to have a family conversation with you. Before the season, I was working out. I was working out a lot, and I was down to about 260, 265, somewhere in there. Yeah, thank you very much. But the season is just too busy for me. The games, the writing, the editing, the podcasting, it's all too busy. So I stopped working out about September 3rd. And yesterday, as I was leaving the house, hadn't worked out since September, I'm leaving the house, and my wife looks at me, says, "Have a good day, honey." I said, "Okay." She said, "I'll put your workout clothes in your bag." I haven't discussed working out. She said, "Make sure you go work out." So, all right, hint taken. I get you. So I go to the gym last night, and I would get on the scale. 281. 281. Biggest I've ever been in my life. 281. So she was right. I need to work out. So I'm working out at the gym now, Terp. So if you're ever over
for
there.
you.
Yeah.
I'm starting on Tuesday.
Have you not done that gym yet?
One over there now.
You've never done it?
I did it one time. Got back.
The shower situation over there is immaculate. I love the locker room. Yeah. The actual working out, not as much. Not as much. Hint, hint, lose some weight, says Raylan now. Yes, I got it, Ray. I got it. Crazy cold in South Florida. I have to wear socks with my flip-flops. Nobody likes you, Christopher Holly. Nobody likes you anymore. Crazy cold in South Florida. What is it? 68? 66? Podcast life has been treating that belly too right. If I didn't like Adrian D. Brown so much, I would have you block him right now, but I like him. Up there in Alaska. My wife has selected my New Year's diet. Now that is love, says Ken and Renee Williams. Boy. Somebody makes a Shrek joke. Oh, yeah, he looks like Shrek. All you need to do now is change your skin color to green. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Here are your three topics today. We'll talk to Neil Price. Then we'll talk about the coaching carousel. Greg Knox to Florida. Scott Fountain to Mississippi State. Terrell Buckley staying at Mississippi State, apparently. We'll talk about that and the effects it will have. Then we'll talk about Mississippi State basketball. What's next as they go to Ole Miss? If you're going to be a player in the postseason, you got to win this game. And frankly, it's time to start beating Ole Miss again. It's time to renew our domination of Ole Miss in basketball. It is past time to do that. Let's do it. Today's top five, the top five surprises of 2017, the things that surprised me in 2017. That's what we'll talk about today, and we'll have Neil Price first. So, Terp, if you want to go ahead and play my music, get on the phone, get Mr. Price ready. Once we get started, we'll jump right into it. I said, Terp, if you want to go ahead and play my music.
That was a very odd cue.
If you want to play my music, I'm sorry, I said play my music. How is that a bad cue?
Well, I thought you were going to
play the music, Terp.
The More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of the More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
That's me, Brandon Walker. More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country, coming to you from a beautiful but cold Thursday morning here in Dunwoody, Georgia. The SEC Country Studios. I got Terp on the other side of the glass, Landshark doing a good job. And we are off and running here today. Today, got about three things I want to talk about. We'll talk about Greg Knox to Florida. We'll talk about the coaching carousel. Talk about Terrell Buckley possibly staying at Mississippi State and how the coaching carousel is affecting Mississippi State for the future. We'll talk about Mississippi State basketball. If you want to be a player in postseason, you got to win this game at Ole Miss on Saturday. And frankly, it is high time Mississippi State starts dominating the series against Ole Miss again. I'm tired of losing that game. The main topic today, I'm going to reach out to somebody who made an incredible debut at Mississippi State this year. His name is Neil Price, the voice of the Bulldogs. He was fantastic all year long. He did a good job as the voice of the Bulldogs, carrying on that tradition, doing a great job, and we're going to talk to him today. I've got some Twitter questions. I've got my own questions. We'll get right to him, and Terp has given me the thumbs up. So let's go ahead and bring in Mr. Neil Price. Neil is somebody that joined the program back in the summer. This was his first season as the voice of the Bulldogs, and I think he was welcomed with open arms. All reviews I've heard have been very, very positive. You can't find anybody that says a bad thing about this guy, and I think he is terrific at what he does. Neil, thank you for joining the show.
Hey, Brandon. Good to talk to you again.
And it's great to talk to you. We had you on the show at the beginning of the season, right before the beginning of the season. So now, a couple of days after the end of the season, Neil, what was your first season like in Starkville?
Well, I hope it was good. I feel good about it. But, Tyson Lee asked me that question about midway through the year, how did I think it was going? And I'll tell you the same thing I told him. The reality is what I think doesn't really matter. It's all about the people who are listening to the games. And like you said, I've had a lot of people that have stopped me in town that have been kind to reach out through social media and tell me they appreciate what we're doing. And I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that doesn't put a smile on my face, because that leads me to believe that I'm on the right track. And I appreciate that a lot. So, I think it's been good. I've had a ball. And, I can't speak to what everybody else may think, about how technically things have gone in terms of the job I'm doing, but I'm having a blast doing it, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, listen, Neil, I'm a State fan first and foremost, a media member second, and I'll tell people when they're doing a bad job. I tell Matt Wyatt all the time he's terrible at what he does, but you are doing a fantastic job. You have got right in there and picked up as the voice of the Bulldogs. I thought you were fantastic this season. Listen, you just came back from Jacksonville. I went down there. I thought it was a great experience. A lot of State fans, a great win. What was your experience like in Jacksonville, Neil?
Well, I wasn't there for the whole week. We had basketball and then obviously Christmas holiday, and I stayed back and had some family here so we could have our first holiday in a new place. And I got there on the 28th, and I spent about 48 hours with the team. And listen, it was a great experience. And I told John Cohen, we were talking shortly after we got back, and I said, that's one of the coolest things I've been a part of, not just here, but in my career, because there weren't a lot of people outside of that locker room who were given State much of a chance to win that game. You're short staffed. You don't have your starting quarterback. You're going to start a true freshman for the first time, who granted had a month of practice, but there were no guarantees how that was going to go. And you're playing against a guy who's a year removed from winning the Heisman Trophy and a coach who's one of the best offensive minds in the game. And for them to go down there and band together and win that game, find a way to get it done, that spoke volumes to me about the kind of people that are on the team, the character of those people, not to mention the athletic ability to go out there and get it done. And it's one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. I mean, I was thrilled for everybody that was a part of that. And you got to give Greg Knox a lot of credit too. And I know the news came out yesterday, I guess, that Greg's going to Florida. And we all knew he'd land on his feet, and a lot of us, I think, had a gut feeling that's where he would land. But for him to stay back, stay committed, along with all the other guys that were a part of that staff, and get it done, that's a pretty special deal. So I won't forget that one anytime soon. That was an all-timer for me.
So you are 13 games into your football career here at Mississippi State. You're right in the middle of your basketball season. But just in football, the year that was, do you have a favorite game that stands out or a favorite moment? Maybe one of both. I don't know. Do you have a favorite that sticks out?
Well, I think it was probably the LSU game when we got into the season. And I would have said that up until the bowl game. And again, all the circumstances surrounding the bowl game, and the fact that the place that I worked for the last 12 years, we didn't like the guys that State played in the bowl game. So I love getting wins against that team, even though I've never worn a uniform or played against them. So that was special for me personally. But just looking at, first-year stuff, LSU, even though we didn't win against Alabama, that was just a great night, and I thought the team played really well against a team that's going to be in the national championship game, and that was a cool environment, and in the bowl game. Those are the three things that kind of come to mind when I think about first football season here. And I'm excited for the future because I think we're going to have a lot more cool moments like that with the number of guys that are coming back. I think people are really excited about Joe Moorhead and his staff and what they're going to do. So it's a great time to be here and a great time to be a part of Mississippi State football. There's no doubt about that.
A couple of more questions from me, and then I have a couple of questions from our fans on Twitter. I listened to the end of the Gator Bowl, at the end of the Tax Slayer Bowl. Mississippi State put it out, your final call, and you perfectly integrated a tribute to Jack Crystal in wrapping the game in maroon and white. When we talked in August, when we had you on the show, you said, you're looking forward to doing something like that to pay homage to the past. I thought it was perfectly integrated. Did you think that was received very well this year?
Well, I hope it was, and again, I don't know. I got a few messages from folks on social media who had been following the team for a long time, and obviously Jack was their connection to the team, and they appreciated it. What I'll tell you is there was a lot of thought that went into that, not just that one call at the end of the game in Jacksonville, but throughout the year. And John Cohen and I talked about that on the phone for about 45 minutes one day. How do we want to do this? Do we think it's the right thing to do? It wasn't just me sitting here saying I'm going to do it, and I told you back in, before the season started, I guess back in August, that, I had been to 2 or 3 groups to speak for the Alumni Association, and I polled the room, and each time it came up about 50-50 about whether or not we should do it. And, John said he thought it would be good to pay tribute to Jack. Like I told you, I think that call is uniquely Jack's, but he did it for so long that it also became part of the lore of Mississippi State. So, I hope that we struck a balance between paying tribute to a guy who gave a lot of his life to the place and also incorporate something that has become a part of tradition here. And that's the intent of it. It's not me trying to copy Jack. It's not me trying to rip anything off, I promise. It's just me trying to do the right thing, to make a connection, and to try to embrace the tradition of the place.
No, I think you did it perfectly. I think what you did showed a lot of respect for the past, and it showed continuation of that great legacy into the future. I think that was exactly the way to do it. You're also doing basketball.
Well,
go ahead.
And doing it in Jacksonville, Brandon, was particularly important because that's the last place Jack did a football game.
Right.
And, Matt and I had talked about that in some of the breaks, and he said, Gator Bowl against Michigan, that was the last time Jack did a game, and Bart had talked about it, I think, in the pregame show that day with Matt. So, that day more than any other, it certainly felt appropriate to do that and pay homage to Jack.
You are also doing basketball, working with Richard Williams, the former coach that took us to a Final Four. How's that been for you?
Oh, I love Richard Williams now. I
do too.
And, I was told by someone when I came here, I remember I met Coach Williams during football season. He was up here for a couple of days from Jackson. And someone who knew him, earlier in their life had worked with him, had gone to camps, work camps, said, listen, he'll size you up in about 5 minutes, and you'll know right away whether or not this is going to work. And I'm happy that he found me favorable in his sight there. He's been great. The fact that he knows more about the game, he's forgotten more about the game than I'll ever know. And he just articulates it in such a way that you don't have to be a basketball expert to understand what he's telling you. He can put it on that level for everybody. So I look forward to going to work every day knowing that Richard Williams is going to be there. And we have a good time. I hope that when people have listened, they can tell that we have fun working with one another. That's the goal for me, first and foremost, every day. Let's go have a good time. And he makes that very, very easy to do. And on top of it, he's a really, really sharp guy.
Neil, I have 3 questions I took off of Twitter from fans of the show, fans of yours, I'm sure. Betty Anderson has the first one. Since being the voice of the Bulldogs, is being in Starkville the best atmosphere you've ever worked in?
I would say yes. Yeah, I have been in places that are bigger, but I don't know that I've been around people that are quite as passionate when it comes to not just one sport, but all sports. We didn't sell out the hump the other night for the Arkansas game, but the people who were there when that thing was in the balance coming down in those final 2 minutes, they were on their feet. They were loud, and they were making a difference. And, again, I've been in bigger places with more people, but I don't know that I've ever been around people who are that passionate because they want State to win in everything. And I think that's fantastic. That's one of the appeals to me of being here is that people want their team to do well, and they get behind them. It's not just 2 sports. It's all sports, and I think that's important.
Grace Thacker Good has a similar question, but a little different. What is your favorite thing about Stark Vegas?
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about it is it reminds me of home. And I told you that back in August.
You did.
One of the appeals to me of being here was that this was a town that was roughly the same size the town I grew up in East Tennessee. People were very similar. And when I go out, I feel like it's a lot like being back home. Just simple stuff like going to the grocery store or just going out to grab lunch somewhere or going to the bank or any of that stuff. It's like being back home again. That more than anything else is what appeals to me and what I've enjoyed. And the fact that there's an SEC school here and I get to happen to do the games on the radio, that's a nice bonus too.
Last question today goes to a Twitter user named Ping Pong Paris, because if you can end on Ping Pong Paris, you always have to do it. His question is, Neil, how much fun are you having as the voice of the Bulldogs?
More than I've ever had in my professional life. That's it. I mean, I wake up every day and thank God in the morning that I get to do this because I worked at it for a long time hoping that I'd get a shot like this one. And like I told you earlier, there weren't but just a handful of places that I could have landed where I would have felt comfortable, and this is one of them. So, I can't take credit for this. Good Lord's in this, and it's where He wanted us to be, and I'm thankful every day that we're here, and I get to do this. And like I say, you wake up and you pinch yourself every now and then because it seems too good to be true in a lot of ways. And, we just keep finding new ways to get involved in the community and get involved in the school and the place. And everybody's just been so great about it. So I'm having time of my life.
Well, listen, you've done a great job first year. I know it will continue. Jack Crystal did it for 58. You've only got 57 years to go, Neil. So we really appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you being on the show. You did a great job this season, man.
All right, Brandon, we appreciate you. Thank y'all so much, and Hail State.
Hail State. That's Neil Price, the voice of the Bulldogs. Boy, that guy's good. I really enjoy having that guy on the show. There's not really any bad people associated with Mississippi State, though. I mean, I bring in Richard Williams. He's fantastic. Neil Price is fantastic. Matt Wyatt is mediocre. But I get all those guys on here, and we have a good time. Neil was very good this year. Very good. The future of Hail State broadcast in very, very good hands. At least until Neil retires and I take his job. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, the coaching carousel continues. Greg Knox, and Neil just mentioned him, and he needs to be mentioned first. Greg Knox going to Florida. I think this was kind of the worst-kept secret in Mississippi State football, that Greg Knox would be joining Dan Mullen in Florida. But he is going to Florida, and yesterday he took to Twitter to express his message to Mississippi State fans. I would like to thank President Dr. Mark Keenum, Director of Athletics John Cohen, especially the players, for believing in me and giving me the opportunity to lead this team and represent Mississippi State. My family and I have enjoyed our 9 years with the Bulldog family, and there will always be maroon and white in us. God has a plan. I'm just letting him have his way and following it. Hashtag Hail State. You will never, I doubt you'll ever hear anybody with Mississippi State football or fans or idiots like me that will have a bad word to say about Greg Knox. Greg Knox has a fan for life in Brandon Walker. Greg Knox handled this situation as professionally, as classy, as perfectly as anyone could handle it. You know, he's going to Florida for his career. He's going to Florida to continue coaching with Dan Mullen, and that's great. Good for him. That's fine. But he left the right way. Other coaches left a month ago, and that's fine. They have a new job. But Greg Knox stayed behind. He saw this thing through to the end. He got this team ready for a bowl game. He knew he was going to Florida. We knew he was going to Florida. The players likely knew he was going to Florida. But he stayed and saw it through until the very end. He made sure Mississippi State went out a winner in 2017 and not a loser. His players bought into him. Greg Knox did everything the right way. I'll always be a fan of Greg Knox. And I salute him as he goes to Florida. Now, he's gone. Who's still there? Terrell Buckley, apparently. It has not been officially announced, but if you listen to the rumors, if you listen to things that are going on the message boards, reports by guys like Steve Robertson, it appears Terrell Buckley has the inside track at staying at Mississippi State. For those who want a continuity, this is a very good thing. You know, there's been a lot of turnover at Mississippi State. If Terrell Buckley stays, that lessens that turnover. And the coaching staff is coming together. Buckley, defensive line coach Brian Baker, seem to be the only holdovers at this point. Then you've got Mark Hudspeth returning, which is not, you know, he wasn't at Mississippi State, but he's certainly been there before, and he's got Mississippi State in him, so it's kind of like he's still there. And that's all. That's all the old blood, and then the new blood is Luke Getsy from the Green Bay Packers, Andrew Briner, the former Fordham head coach, Charles Huff, Penn State running back coach, now Mississippi State's running back coach and recruiting coordinator, Marcus Johnson, former offensive line coach at Duke, Scott Fountain coming over from Georgia, Bob Shoop, who previously was one of the most sought-after defensive coordinators in the country before going to Tennessee. And that's your coaching staff. That's 9 coaches right there. There will be a 10th added, but that's pretty much it. That is pretty much it. And it looks good to me. I'm on board. Joe Moorhead, I'm on board with all this. So Buckley staying is something that fans worried about. You know, fans wanted as many coaches to stay as would stay. And I kind of agree with that. I mean, you need some continuity on the recruiting trail. Buckley's been recruiting Mississippi. If you can keep him, keep him. And it appears that's going to happen. So that's good. Oh, by the way, LSU is paying its defensive coordinator $2.5 million a year. Mississippi State's paying its head coach $2.7. LSU is a ticking time bomb. That ain't going to work. That's not going to work. You had to pay a guy $2.5 million to stay there. You've got a good coach in Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator, who is working under an inferior coach in Ed Orgeron. It's a ticking time bomb, and that explosion is going to be delightful. It is going to be fantastic to watch that thing implode from the inside, because it will. LSU's offense will be dreadful next year. They replace everything. Their defense will be okay. But this year, with all that defensive talent, LSU's defense statistically wasn't as good as Mississippi State's. Wasn't as good as Georgia's, wasn't as good as Auburn's, wasn't as good as Alabama's. And you just paid that guy $2.5 million to continue being the 5th best defense in the SEC. LSU, thank you. That is very entertaining. What's next for basketball? 13-1, RPI of 53, a big win over number 22 Arkansas, and now State goes somewhere that they need to start winning again. At Ole Miss Saturday, if you want to be a player in the postseason, if you want to have a postseason future, you got to win this game. You have to beat Ole Miss home and away. That would be a bad loss in the eyes of any committee, NIT, NCAA, BVD, OPP. Yeah, you know me. It would be a bad loss because Ole Miss is terrible. Nobody expects them to be this bad, but they're RPI-wise the worst team in the league. But more than that, I'm just tired of losing to Ole Miss in basketball. I think 7 out of the last 8, that's embarrassing. That should never, ever happen at Mississippi State, ever. Not to a coach like Andy Kennedy, not to a program like Ole Miss. And to get the program back where it needs to be, to get the basketball program back where it has been for so long, we have to start dominating Ole Miss again. And it should start this Saturday. It needs to start. State has a better roster and a better coach. It's time to start beating Ole Miss again. It's time to put them in the rearview mirror. They're not a legit basketball program, and they have owned us in recent years. Today's top 5. My top 5 surprises, top 5 biggest surprises of 2017. A couple baseball, a couple football, and then, well, number 1 is, you can probably guess. Number 5, Brent Rooker winning the Triple Crown in the SEC. So I think everybody knew coming back in 2017, Brent Rooker would probably be State's best hitter. He put up decent numbers as a redshirt sophomore, but I don't think anybody saw that coming. Nobody saw just the second Triple Crown in SEC history joining Rafael Palmeiro. Nobody saw him becoming one of the top 2 or 3 best hitters in the entire country. He picked Mississippi State up on his back and had a historic season. That was a surprise, a very, very pleasant surprise, and all these are pleasant surprises. Number 4, Mississippi State 37, LSU 7. I thought Mississippi State would beat LSU. I predicted it from last March. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and predict it for 2018 now. So State's going to beat LSU in Tiger Stadium in 2018. Anyway, I thought Mississippi State would win. I did not think they would embarrass LSU. They would blow them out by 30 points on national TV. That was very, very fun. That was just a fun night of football. Fantastic. Number 3 biggest surprise of 2017, the Mississippi State baseball team. Every excuse not to be good, every reason not to be good. Your entire lineup almost turned over. Your pitching staff was ravaged by injuries. Your coach was hired 3 months before the season started. And all they did was go to a super regional and compete for the SEC championship all the way to the last weekend. They were phenomenal. That was a surprise. Number 2 biggest surprise of 2017, Mississippi State 31, Louisville 27. I know it just happened. And I know some of you on the Facebook Live are saying, well, you never should have doubted us. Well, you're right. I shouldn't have. I made a mistake. But a whole lot of people doubted that State could beat Louisville. And a freshman starter, the backup quarterback, goes up, beats Lamar Jackson, the Heisman winner from 2016. Bobby Petrino, a good coach, gets taken to the woodshed by Greg Knox, an interim. It was a very, very pleasant surprise. And number 1, Terp, I think even you could guess this one. Does anybody out there on Facebook Live know? Yep. A couple of people know. What do you think, Terp? You're not even listening. That's great. That's why you're the best. Number 1, biggest surprise of 2017. UConn had a 111-game winning streak coming into the Final Four in 2017. They had won 111 games in a row, but they hadn't run up against this edition of Mississippi State. Morgan Williams, buzzer beater, 66 for Mississippi State, 64 for UConn. They slay the giant. They upset one of the best teams in NCAA basketball history. State beating UConn, the number 1 surprise, not only of 2017, maybe of the history of Mississippi State sports. You know, it's one thing to be an underdog, but to be an underdog when you're a number 2 seed, you would think you're not that big of an underdog, but everybody is an underdog against that team. And Vic Schaefer wasn't scared, Morgan Williams wasn't scared, and history was made. All right, Facebook Live, here I come. You can have me for about 10 minutes today. My name is Brandon Walker. On the podcast, I think we'll be back Monday. We got some issues Monday. We got to work out, Terp. Got to figure it out. But until next time on the podcast, my name is Brandon Walker. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. Well, I thought Neil Price was really good. You know, I guess I'm just a very good interviewer, though. all my interviews on here turn out to be really good. Don't you think, Terp?
Yeah, you're welcome.
Am I just a great interviewer, you
I think
think?
I'm just a great producer that get all the right guys.
You have nothing to do.
Yeah, I call them.
I hand you the phone
I
number.
call them.
I was going to say Dan Mullen leaves as your number one. I had it on the list, but it was 4 good surprises and then that surprise. And I said, you know what? Forget Dan Mullen. Forget him.
By the way, I did guess that. I shouldn't have my mic.
That's fine.
Landshark and
That's fine. And I said, forget Dan Mullen. So I had 5 pleasant surprises, and I really, really enjoyed it. Hail State from Noonan, Georgia. Hello, Dickie Delishment. Eric Lee checking in from Mobile. Oh, Kevin Wright with a compliment to me. You are a good interviewer because you shut up and let the interviewee talk. Thank you. Thank you. I know how to shut up. I got 4 kids and a wife. I'm an expert at shutting up. I shut up all the time. What about the new football hire, Georgia assistant Scott Fountain? I would be lying if I had expert in Scott Fountain, if I had expertise in Scott Fountain. I don't. But he was at Auburn for 8 years. He's at Georgia. Great pedigree. And Joe Moorhead wants him. That's enough for me. That is enough for me. James Harvey Darby. James Harvey Darby. That's hard to say. James Harvey Darby. Checking in from Tillatoba, Mississippi. Boy, that's hard to say. How can you possibly be James Harvey Darby from Tillatoba, Mississippi? That's impossible to say. Can you move? Can you move to somewhere? Can you please move to, I don't know, Shannon? Morton? Something easy to say. Where did Price come from? He was at the University of Kentucky, Tim Franks. I think John Cohen and he had a previous relationship at Kentucky. So that's where he came from. Can we get some stickum from Lamar Peters' hands? Too many turnovers, says Wayman Hodge. He'll get there. He'll get there. Just going through a little sophomore slump, that's all. Joshua Watts from Kosciuszko, Mississippi. Hello, Joshua, down in Attala County. Where is Pap's Place? Is that in Ackerman? Is that still a thing? Is Pap's Place in Ackerman still a thing? They won't rob you. They just fill up your belly. There's a restaurant in Kosciuszko, too, that I've eaten at that I liked. Any chance of Looney staying? No, I don't think so, Daniel Martin. I do not think so. Cohen has done a great job finding talent, says Kevin Wright. I agree. John Cohen has knocked all of his hires out of the park so far, I believe. All of them. Everybody says Ackerman. Yes, thank you. Thank you. How far do you think our baseball team will get this year? Baseball might be the hardest sport to predict. But I would go to war with those guys any day. And our pitching staff is going to be hard to deal with. So, if you're naming SEC championship contenders, you got to list the usual suspects. Florida, Vanderbilt, and I think a couple more, and then Mississippi State is in that group, aren't they? They got to be. They won it a couple of years ago. They competed for it till the last weekend last year. They got to be in that group. Wade Glass says Montez Sweat. You guys ask me every day, do y'all think I'm related to Montez Sweat? I know you're just asking because you want to know, but when the Montez Sweat news comes out, it'll come out. He'll decide if he's going pro or not, and it'll get reported. So I don't have an update for you on Montez. I don't. I hope he comes back. I wouldn't bet on it, but I hope he comes back.
What are your odds percentages?
It's 51-49 that he goes pro. Like, it's close.
That's very close.
It's close. He's not a slam dunk first or second round pick, I don't think. So he's going to have to make a difficult decision. But we'll see. We'll see. John Cohen has been a rock star, says Lance Chain. Houston Everett says Montez Sweat is coming back. I've heard guys close to the program say he is coming back. I've also heard guys close to the program say he's leaving. Nobody knows yet. I don't think Montez Sweat knows yet. Will he need to decide before school starts? I mean, there's probably a date he needs to decide by, but I don't think school has anything to do with it. I mean, he could always just pull out of school. Can you give your thoughts about MSU's post play? I'm concerned. Well, defensively, it ain't bad. I think Abdul Ado gives you a nice presence defensively. Offensively, it is a struggle. Eric Holman, not really all that physical down there, and if he's not scoring, he's not bringing you a lot, but I think he'll score a little bit better in the future. So I'm fine with it, and I know that Ben Howland is trying to address that in the next class with one more scholarship that just opened up with Schneider Herard. Where's the Bobby girl been on the women's basketball team? I think you mean Bibby, Chloe Bibby. I'm not real sure. I know she played a lot early, and the last couple she hasn't played. So I don't know the answer to that question. Baseball should do well. The best starter and the best relievers are back. Pilkington throws strikes well. We should win Friday games. I like that. Steve C. says Bibby has been ill. Sweat and Rivers would be beasts next season on the ends. I agree, Steven Stafford. Chauncey Rivers coming in next year. As long as Jeffrey Simmons is in the middle, it's going to be fun to be a defensive end at Mississippi State. And that's only one more year, sure. But as long as Simmons is in the middle, the ends are going to have fun. How many more recruits can we sign in February? I think it's about 3 or 4 maybe. Maybe 5. Not a whole lot, but we know our needs now. We know what we need, and we need to probably get another offensive lineman, probably another defensive back. So Joe Moorhead and company are attacking that. Has anyone said if we're staying with the 3-4 or going to 4-3? All they will really say is we're going to be multiple. And I think fans get too locked into, are we a 3-4 or a 4-3? You got talented players. You're going to have the ones out there that are the best. So I think they'll put out whatever format, whatever alignment they need to stop opposing offenses. I wouldn't get too caught up in 4-3-3-4. With Jeffrey Simmons, you could probably do 1-8-1 and you'd be fine. 1-8-1-1 and you'd be fine. I mean, he's going to make whatever alignment pretty good. Bibby has been down under. Okay, Philip. All right. That's enough of that. You're saying she's under the weather. That's fine. Sweat could easily raise his stock coming back, maturing while playing on a very mature, experienced squad. One guy does not define his team. He's good, but we use 11. Well, Mitch Keys, you crammed a lot of points in there. Yeah, he could. He could mature, and he could raise his stock. But if your stock is round 2 or 3, it's hard to say no to guaranteed money. Do I come back and play for free one more year, or do I go make $2 million? It's hard to say no to $2 million. Would it benefit him to come back? Maybe, but maybe not. 2 quarterback system, wouldn't that be cool? No, Wade Glass, that would not be cool. 2 quarterback systems are never cool. They are never cool. If Nick Fitzgerald wins the job, which everybody assumes he will, he'll be the quarterback for 2018, and Keaton Thompson will be the starter in 19 and 20. So not a 2 quarterback system, though, no. I mean, sure, you give Keaton Thompson packages and plays every now and then if Fitzgerald does indeed win the job. But you don't force 2 guys on the field just to do it. Lynn Rhodes Gilmer says, living in Alabama, I appreciate your show. Thanks. Thank you, Lynn Rhodes Gilmer. I do this for you. Wait, I'm not supposed to wink anymore. Sorry. But my wife lost a remote to the TV. She can't watch anymore. Sweat, Rivers, Simmons, Adams, alternate Kobe Jones in there and bringing pressure off the end with Green. Nasty, says Bobby Lauder. And Chauncey Rivers. Don't forget Chauncey Rivers. And don't forget, I think Mark McLaurin will have an outstanding senior year in the back end of the defense. You didn't mention Willie Gay, who looks like a player. You didn't mention Errol Thompson. I know you're just talking about the defensive line, but there are players all over this defense. All over this defense. Brian Cole coming in. JUCO guy that redshirted this year. Why do you do this from Georgia? Because I work for SEC Country and we are based in Atlanta. That's why I do it from Georgia. We need somebody not named Weatherspoon to step up and beat the Bears. Well, I would agree if we didn't have 2 Weatherspoons. I mean, 2 guys scoring 22 points each is a pretty good start. But, yeah, Tyson Carter's going to get it going. I think Lamar Peters will eventually get it going. I think Abdul Ado is effective in the post at times. And I think Holman will play better. So I don't think this team is anywhere near its ceiling. And I think it'll get there. Fitz equals Romo. KT equals Dak. I don't know about that. Maybe. We'll see. That's enough, Ethan Fleury. Gray Stacker Good says I need to move home. Well, let me tell you guys something. I'm Mississippi to my core. I love Mississippi. I would love to live in West Point, Mississippi right now, or Starkville, and go to every game. I would love to do that. But I also like money in my pocket. Really enjoy money. Like the money. So there you go. Do you see the pitching staff staying healthy this year? You can't predict that, but it's certainly more healthy. It's in a better spot in January, on January 4th, than it was last year. Even January 4th last year, we knew that it was in bad shape. It was going to be tough sledding, and we thought that would sink the season, but it didn't. Andy Cannizaro worked around it. Well, now you've got, as of right now, you've got a healthy pitching staff. You've got a full pitching staff, something we didn't have last year. And if he could do that with half a pitching staff, what can he do with a whole one? We'll see. Everybody's keeping it on topic today. Everybody's talking about sports. Weird. Derp, I don't know what we're going to do Monday.
Yeah, I don't know my schedule either, but
I have to work. They're pulling me.
Pretty busy.
They're pulling me into some SEC country stuff. I got to go downtown for the championship, and I got to do a 12 o'clock prediction show from the $3 Cafe.
Ooh.
Is that good?
What, $3 Cafe?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
What do you mean?
They have like an arcade there.
They have an arcade?
Yeah.
Oh,
Isn't it like a half game?
I've never been there.
I mean, I haven't been there in like 15 years.
Do you know I went to Dave & Buster's by myself in Jacksonville?
Did you?
I got to Jacksonville Thursday night, and I was by myself. And I tweeted, like, hey, is it lame to go to Dave & Buster's?
I would have gone to Dave & Buster's. I would have beat you in every game there.
I didn't play any games because I was by myself. I just ate.
I would have done the basketball.
You think softball team is going to be good this year? I think it's been progressing quite nicely the last couple of years. I think it's been progressing, and yeah, of course, it's so hard. That's what makes it amazing for what Vic Schaefer's done. The SEC is loaded in women's basketball, but Schaefer rose to the top of it. But as loaded as the SEC is in football, as loaded as it is in women's basketball, as loaded as it is in baseball, it is impossibly loaded in softball. It is impossibly loaded in softball. Alabama, Florida, Auburn, the list goes on and on and on and on of elite national teams in the SEC. So even if State was the 12th best team in the country, they might be the 7th best team in the SEC in softball. So that's how hard it is. That's how hard her job is. But I think she's doing a fantastic job. John Martina, I've already talked about Scott Fountain. I like the hire. Good pedigree. Good background. All right. Good duck hunting weather here in Oklahoma. Duck hunting. Like, I don't have any moral thing against duck hunting, but it sure is cold and wet to be hunting ducks, isn't it? Like, the colder and wetter, the better. The more miserable the weather, the better the duck hunting is, right? I just don't. You got to have a passion for that. I just don't see how you grow that, how you get that passion. I don't think there's anything in the world I would hunt in that kind of, well, I don't know. Ginger Tuck loves Mississippi State softball. That's a good passion. Is Terp worth $2.3 million?
Yes.
The entire state of Maryland is not worth $2.3 million. All right. Were you doing your home run signal? Landshark is apparently hungry. She doesn't do missing lunch very well. She's very unprofessional.
It's also like 2,000 degrees in here. We're dying.
It's feeling a little better out here.
It's hot.
Oh.
We have the sun right
now.
behind
Did
us.
anybody notice that
I took your jacket off?
I took my jacket off. All right. Somebody play my music. My name is Brandon Walker. You've been watching more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country.